Hi, this is Trinesha Cottrell, and today I wanted to talk about what do you want? So, what made me think about what do you want is earlier today, well, not that long ago, and all today, I have been at home and I had a few errands I had to run, I had a few appointments that I had to go to, and things like that. And I was just thinking about what is it that I actually want for my life? I know what my purpose is. I know what God wants for me. And what I want does not trump what God wants at all, not even in the least. So I'm not saying that what I want is the most important, but and I also think it's so important for us to think of what it is that we actually want for our life. What do you want in your life? What is it that you truly love doing? What is it that you truly desire to do? What is the thing that you can imagine doing at for hours on time and it doesn't even feel like any time is wasted or any time is like it feels like it's just a moment, but it's been hours and you feel like you just never get tired of doing it. What's the thing that really drives your passion, that really ignites your fire, that really makes you feel alive, makes you feel like you can do anything. It brings joy and peace to you when you're doing it. When you're doing that thing, it just really makes you feel content in the moment, in the life that you have. Because honestly, as I'm sitting here thinking about my life and I'm thinking about the things that God wants me to do in my life and I'm thinking about how I want to make sure that I'm being intentional with my life. I'm doing the things that God wants me to do. And I also know that that doesn't mean that might be the only thing that I'm doing. Sometimes I might be doing other things. God might say, hey, your purpose is, speaking life into others and helping other people. But him putting me in a scenario or in a place or in a business that allows me to learn how to be more assertive, that how to show that, how to be Christ-like or to be nice to people who aren't nice to me or whatever else it is that God intends for me to do in these seasons or in different places of my life is a moment. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that what God wants for our life is just a moment. Of course, that's our entire life. I mean that this is just a moment in my life right now. So, when I think about what it is that I'm going to do or what it is that God would intend for me to do, sometimes God just says, to wait. And I'm like, okay. Or he'll say, move or, do this. And I'm like, okay, I understand he's saying do this, but I don't know. Like in my head, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do after this. Like, I don't know how I'm going to. I know that we don't know God's plan. So that's not it. That's not why I'm saying that. I'm saying it because sometimes I feel like we get to a place where we're so used to constantly going that when we get a moment of just wait, just sit in the moment of where you are, sometimes we feel like we're missing something or like we should be doing something else. And sometimes God is trying to teach us a lesson exactly where we are, and He's not telling us to go do something else. And for me, I want to make sure that since I rededicated my life to God, that every day of my life is full of being fulfilled. I want to make sure that I'm in purpose and I'm intentional every single day. And it's so funny because I got to a point where I was just like, oh, okay, this is normal, and I'd hear people say certain things about things going on in their life, and I'm like, how could they feel that way? We're so blessed to even be alive. And I would just be, I was one of those people. And I'm a morning person too, so. But yeah, I would be one of those people. And I got to like this point in my life where I'm doing something that I don't enjoy doing. And it's not I have those moments where it feels like I have to do this, but I don't have to do it. I can do anything else. I don't have to do this one thing. And it's something else when you do something because you like to do it or you're doing something, just to fill time or you're doing something because God tells you to do it. When you're doing something that's mundane, that brings no joy to your life, that makes you feel like you have to be there, it does something to you emotionally. It drains that joy. Like it pokes a hole in the joy that you have within yourself. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody else, but when you are doing something that's unfulfilling, when you're doing something that's not in your purpose, or you're doing something I feel like for me, it's so much more. I don't want to say it's worse because I'm completely blessed. I just mean that when you know what your purpose is and you have to do things that are purposeless, oh my gosh. Oof. After you feel that joy, unspeakable joy, after have been pouring into other people and you just see the joy in their eyes when you do something you truly love and then you have to go back and do something that you don't really love doing or you do something that fills the time or whatever else, it really doesn't feel as gratifying as it did before you knew what your purpose is, if that makes any sense to anybody. So if you ever figure out what your purpose is and that's not something that you could do all day long, I mean, and another way to think of it is I don't get to do it all day long, but when I get to do it, I get to do it. I get to be standing flat footed in it. I get to be all in. And you could think of it that way. You could think of this is a way for me to be even more thankful and grateful of the fact that God showed me what my purpose is. This is a way for me to think this is amazing that I get to do this at all, even for a moment, even for an hour. So it's one of those things where you really have to change your thought process and you have to figure out what it is that you want to do. I'm not saying like go above God or in front of God. I'm not saying that at all. Not even a little bit. I'm saying that sit down and take a moment and think about what really makes you happy. What really brings you joy? What is something I was watching this video earlier and this young lady said something like, what's the life that you always imagined that you would have? Or something that you aspire to have in your life? And she said, write down in detail what that looks like. So I'm going to reiterate that and say, write down all of the things that you think would be happening in your life. What is what does your dream life look like? What does your future life look like? What does it look like to be doing the thing that you love to do and doing it all the time? Maybe not all the time. Maybe you have time with your friends or family, or you do other things, or you go away, or you go on a mini trip or something else. But in general, what's something that truly brings you joy? Something that you get to do that makes you feel full. It makes you feel like you're at lack of nothing. It makes you feel so much joy in your soul. You feel like doing this thing, if you could do this 24/7, this would be something that would be your dream life. What is that thing that you get to do that brings you that much joy? What is the thing that you get to do that makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I love my life? What is the thing that you get to do that, or what is the thing that you want to do that you've done in the past, or you just realize that you really love this thing, and and figure out how it ties into your purpose. Because sometimes as humans, when we get a little bit of God in our life, when we rededicate our life to God or we get saved, we feel like God needs to just tell us step by step everything we need to do. Faith without works is dead. We need to put in that work. If there's a line distinction between the thing that you like to do and what God has you doing your purpose, and you can combine those two things together, you might be unstoppable. So really think about what it is that you enjoy doing, what it is that your purpose is. What is it the thing that God put on your heart for you to do? And how can that tie into a business? How can you make that into something that will bring you residual income? What is it? What is the thing that you could do that would bring joy to someone else or that would help in this world? What's the thing that could bring satisfaction to the kingdom? Think of what that thing is for you and imagine every moment in detail, every moment, every second of your life doing that thing. And every day, every morning and every night, after you thank God, after you really get out of bed on your knees in prayer or whatever else it is that you're doing in your devotional or whatever else, I want you to take a moment and I want you to look at that story that you wrote for yourself, that guideline, that roadmap of your dream life. Pray to God about it. Ask him if this is what he desires for your life. If this is this the life that he desires for you? Is this what he would have you do? And ask him to make a way out of no way. Every single morning, every single night, look at that thing. It'll be the thing that keeps you motivated through doing those mundane things that don't really matter in your life. It'll be the thing that pushes you forward when you feel like you have no more energy to keep on going. It'll be the thing that brings you joy because you'll be able to see it. Eventually, it'll become like a dream. Eventually, you'll see it clear. And it won't just be something that's just a thought in your mind. It will be a full out vision of what your life could look like. Something that I do is I think of what the better version of me would be doing in every situation, or when I'm going through my life, or when I'm trying to become a better person and everything else. And I think about how I would react to that situation in the future, how I would be in this relationship, how I would be when I meet such and such person, or how I would be when I get into a healthy friendships, which I have. The type of friend I aspire to be is who I want to be as a friend. The things that bring me joy that I get to do, and it's not an everyday, all day type of thing that I get to do that's joyous, but when God gives me the opportunity to do things that really truly bring me joy, I like to sit in that moment and really just enjoy every single second of it. I could be I could be doing something on the weekends, and God could give me a day where maybe I don't have a bunch of stuff planned, or I haven't scheduled something or something else, and I literally, just me being outside in nature, like walking or going to the beach or something else. I know people are saying it's cold, but I'm just saying, just stick with me. And just being able to look out at the sky, like the clouds, whether it's clouds in front of the sun or the sun's out and the clouds like going by, people used to say, or the hearing the water, or seeing the sand, or looking at the leaves or the snow, or whatever it is that you get to see outside. And just be grateful for the fact that you can see those things. Be grateful for the fact that you get to experience these seasons one more time. Be grateful for the fact that you got to breathe this morning. That just look, like really just take a moment and just look around you at everything you have to be grateful for. Sometimes people will say, well, these are just things, it's a material object. Yes, it is, but still be grateful for it. You could say, well, this is just outside. It's so funny. I'm saying this and people are probably gonna laugh at me, but I'm gonna say it. So I was watching Soul. If you haven't seen it, it's like one of those movies it's like a kid movie, but I still watched it and it was pretty good. And so in Soul, the guy he ends up passing away or whatever. And he's like, this other person who's like a spirit, it's like the spirit or whatever, gets to go out and experience life, and he gets to see the leaves fall, and he gets to see the sun, and do all of these things that a lot of people take for granted every day. And that's what I do in my life. I really take a moment and look at those things that we just pass by. We walk right by the leaves and don't even think about the fact that it's part of God's creation, that is something that's part of a bigger picture, that is something that we get to experience in that moment. We're so busy looking for like this huge gigantic building, or something, and it's nothing wrong with seeing a giant building or going to museums or anything like that, but really just take in what's around you. Really acknowledge the fact that you look at all of the detail that goes into making a tree, and God designed that. Every single line, every single thing, every single branch, every single limb, every single leaf, every root, like, to me, it's like the thing that keeps me grounded. It keeps me thinking, like, if I can be grateful for the trees and the grass and the sun and the clouds, I can be grateful for everything else. Like, everything else is just extra. When I get to breathe in and out on my own, it's a blessing. When I get to look through my eyes and see some of the most beautiful things that God has created or allowed us to create, it makes me feel grateful. It makes me feel thankful and blessed. When I get to move my limbs on my own, it makes me feel grateful and blessed. Having all my limbs, being able to breathe in and out, to taste all of the seasonings on all the different foods, even though I don't eat unhealthy a lot, but when I do get to taste the different things, different flavors, different foods, I get to be able to taste those things. It's not like, oh, God just gave it to me. It's like an extra blessing. Me being able to hear. I can hear what's around me. I can smell the different smells when I smell like the bread baking in the oven or a cake or, whatever else. Just being able to smell that is a blessing. Don't allow, when you're thinking about your life that you want, don't allow the things that you don't have to cloud what you can be grateful and thankful for right now. Allow this to be a moment for you to just take in and be grateful for all the things that you do have. The ability to drive back and forth. Maybe you're in a position where you really don't like being at home and you want to just be able to travel all over the place. And instead of appreciating the fact that you have a house to go home to, instead of appreciating the fact that some people don't have a place to live, appreciating the fact that you have clothes on your back, you have shoes on your feet, you have people who love you in your life. Like, some people would do anything for that, and you have it, and you're taking it for granted. Some people in relationships are saying, oh, I can't stand the person that I'm with. And people would do anything to have somebody that cares about them as much as that person cares about them, you know? Or somebody single and the person's like, oh man, that person doesn't know how good they have it. They don't have anyone to answer to. They don't have any responsibilities. They could just go do whatever they want. And the grass always looks greener. It always does. Instead of us just appreciating what it is that we do have. Instead of appreciating the fact that we are this age, or our hair. Like, I have so many gray hairs on my head. I'm appreciating every single gray hair. I have not colored my hair at all because people asked me for a long time if I was ever going to color my hair, and I said no. I'm just going to go with it and just appreciate all of the gray hairs in my head. Like, I just am. I don't want to pretend like I'm something that I'm not. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with coloring your hair. I'm just saying, for me, this is like something that I get to do for myself. Eventually, will I color it? Maybe. If I want to go a different color and it's not going to damage my hair, yeah, I might do that. But it won't be because I'm trying to cover the grays. It'll just be because I just wanted to change the hair color. And so I just I really want us to take a moment and really appreciate the fact that we have this day. Appreciate the fact that we have this moment, that we have the people in our life who God allowed to be a part of our life. Appreciate the fact that we can walk and talk and speak and smell and hear and we could see. Appreciate the fact that we have a place to stay, food to eat. Even if it's not the food that you selected that you want to eat, you are being able to survive because you get to eat this food. So appreciate it and be grateful. This isn't a permanent thing. This is just temporary. This part of our life is just temporary. Things change in an instant. Things change so quickly. And it's so easy especially if you have someone who's mean in your life, who you have to be around. Sometimes it's hard to feel like, oh, I'm going to be grateful for this situation, even though this person is completely cruel. It doesn't matter who that person is. That person is not God. They will never be God. They could be doing whatever it is that they think they're going to be able to do, but they can't do anything without God's consent. If you are just passing through something, if you are in business with somebody who's mean to you or somebody in your family is mean, remove yourself from the situation. You don't have to be there. Unless God is saying, I need you to stay there because this is going to build something in you that you need for the next season. Unless God specifically says that, you need to go. You can't hold on to trying to prove to yourself that you can do something, because being in a toxic environment like that is not healthy for you. I know, like, some of the older people will probably say things like, oh yeah, you stay in your business for 30 years and then you go this place. But I know us younger people, we usually try to move into different areas to try to grow our business, not in a quick way, because I do believe that you need to build it from the ground up and slowly go into whatever it is. But I don't think you have to wait 30 years either. I think that you could do it within a year. I think you could do it consistently and by following God in the speed at the appointed time that God wants it to happen. I don't think we have to wait on anything. We just have to make sure that it's in God's time. And so when you're going through your life, when things are changing around you, when you feel like this person is just not treating you well, you have to move on. You have to do something different in your life. You don't have to stay at this place in your life. And if it's a family member, you really don't have to put up with that. I know it can feel like, well, I don't want to be rude. What's ruder is you deteriorating your physical, mental, and emotional health for anybody else. You are what's most important. You have to make sure that you are the healthiest so that you could be there for the people who actually need you. So it's not about people thinking that you're cruel. It's about you being the best version of yourself. They will get over it. They would rather, I know, if they truly care about you, they would rather have you here as the healthiest version of yourself than for you to be falling apart and exhausted because you gave them someone who didn't appreciate it or didn't deserve it, all of your energy. You need to put some distance between the people who are draining you. You need to put some distance between the things that are toxic in your life. And distance does not mean that you are being mean or cruel to that person. That means that you are protecting yourself. The only people that are looking out for you is God and yourself. So you need to make sure that you have your back. You need to make sure that you're covering yourself. You need to make sure that you are looking out for you. And I don't mean in a selfish way like you never serve anyone else or help anyone else. I mean that you fill yourself up first so that you can pour into other things. You make sure that you are good. If there is something in your life that you feel like you have to complain about, think about all the good things. Pray to God and let him guide you on what it is that he wants you to do in your life. God would never intend for you to be somewhere that makes you miserable. He would only want you to be somewhere where you can be everything that you need to be, where you could be happy and healthy and joyous. Will there be trials and tribulations? Yes. I know I always pause and say that because I don't want anyone to think it's just like this rainbows and butterflies kind of thing. It's really takes work. You really have to be about that life. You got to gear up every single day, ready for battle because the psychological, spiritual, and physical warfare is real. The adversary takes no days off. So if you feel some kind of toxicity around you, you need to distance yourself. If you're not happy in a situation, you need to distance yourself. And I'm not saying you give up on something that is God ordained. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that your health, your mental, spiritual, physical, and psychological health is the most important thing. Do not allow someone else to drain you dry to where you feel like you can't even get up, where you feel like you can't even stand on your own 2 feet, where you feel like you're so exhausted that you don't have energy for the things that God purposed you for. So, in conclusion, what do you want? What is it that you truly, truly desire? What is it that you truly want for your life that makes you the happiest? What is the thing that brings you so much joy that feels like it's kingdom work? Something that God is in, that you get to do. Is this something that you could do full time, or is this something that you would do part time along with something else? Think of what it is that God wants you to do. Don't just run off and do whatever you feel like it because you like to do something. Like really consult with God and seek his guidance so that he can guide you the way that you need to go, so that he can make sure that you're doing the things that you need to do in your life, so that you're not just wasting your time, so that you're not just pouring into something that is draining you. Make sure that you are in a good headspace. You never want something to pull away from your mental, physical, and emotional health. You never want to be so drained and feel so exhausted, or feel like you have to deal with so much toxicity every single day that when you get a day off, all you get to do is sleep because you have no time for your dream work because it's pulled too much out of you. You need to make sure that you are okay. There's not a job in the world that is worth my mental health at all. It could be multi-millions. It doesn't matter how much I'm making. It could be my business, and God could say, this is not in your purpose. If it's something that is making me a bunch of money and it's draining me and I'm miserable, that is not true joy. That is not what God intended for your life. That's not what God intended for any of our lives. For us to just be miserable just because we're making money. God intended for us to be joyous, prosperous, to be serving, obedient, and to live by His word. That's what He intended. And that's exactly what I intend to do. I intend to go full force into whatever it is that God intends for my life. I don't want anything more, anything less than that. I want everything God has for me. Nothing more, nothing less. And I hope that you really do take a moment and think about what your dream life looks like. Think about what you actually want. Think about what your dream life could look like day to day, moment to moment. Really look at it after you are praying to God, doing your devotional in the morning. Look at it. Look at your life. This could be your life. And accept it. Know that you are the only thing stopping you most of the time. Most of the time, it's what you're telling yourself. Most of the time, it's you just saying that you're not good enough, or you just thinking, oh, well, that's not possible for me. You don't know what's possible because you haven't even tried. Anything is possible with God, especially when you have God's stamp of approval. So you need to make sure that you take it seriously, that you look at your dream life in the morning and at night, and you really think about not only what God wants for you, but what do you want?